Today, we're going to unravel a subject that, unfortunately, is quite prevalent in the daily lives of many. Manipulation. This form of negative social influence reveals how individuals or organizations use subtle tactics to gain control and advantage over others. Manipulation can occur in various spheres of life, whether in the workplace, personal relationships, or even large social groups. It is essential to learn to defend oneself, and for that, in this video, we will explore the 6 most intense manipulation tactics. You will relate with them. Everyone has this kind's friends, family member or love interest, or at least Facebook, TikTok, or Insta. Know that all knowledge is neutral, as it depends on the user to give it a function. Therefore, remember that these tactics are dark, and the purpose of this content is for you to learn to protect yourself from them, not to use them against others. All the knowledge you absorb in this video should be used responsibly, whether for your self-defense or personal development. This video will show you the dark side of this world, how peoples and even big omnipresent structures and medias often using psychology to fool us, and how you can counter it with philosophy. If you're interested in this kinds of topic, I suggest you to subscribe, and you will like this video on the way, because it will get better and better. We don't do small talks here, so let's start. Number 1, double bind. This is a situation of psychological manipulation in which the person is placed between 2 contradictory choices or conflicting messages so that regardless of the decision made, they will be wrong or at a disadvantage. This tactic is often used to confuse and control the victim, making them feel powerless, confused, and anxious, as there is no correct or satisfactory way out in these situations. The manipulator may communicate mutually exclusive expectations or demands. For example, a parent may criticize a child for not being open and communicative, but when the child tries to express their feelings, they are reprimanded for being disrespectful or overly sensitive. Here in this example, the child is put in a double bind, because if they open up, they are punished, and if they remain silent, they are also criticized. The double bind can also occur in relationships, where one person may tell their partner they want more independence, but at the same time becomes upset or distant when the partner spends time alone. The victim of this manipulation becomes confused and insecure about how to act, as all their actions seem to result in a negative response. This type of manipulation is particularly insidious because it attacks the person's ability to trust their own perception and judgment. This can lead to a state of constant self-doubt, making the person more dependent on the manipulator. The manipulator presents you with 2 options, but neither is truly acceptable. Choosing one leads to punishment or negativity, while the other does too. This constant state of wrong answer creates confusion and anxiety. You can't trust your own judgment, because anything you do seems to be wrong. Double binds can make you doubt your own perception of reality. You start questioning your own judgment and feelings. Feeling constantly wrong can chip away at your confidence. You might become more reliant on the manipulator because you feel incapable of making your own choices. Here are some stoic strategies to counter a double bind. Recognize the manipulation. The first step is to identify the double bind for what it is. Detach yourself emotionally and analyze the situation logically. Separate expectations. Don't try to fulfill both contradictory demands. Explain to the manipulator that their expectations are unreasonable if appropriate. Focus on what you can control. You can't control the manipulator's behavior, but you can control your own response. Choose to act with reason and virtue, not reactively. Communicate clearly and honestly. If possible, assert yourself calmly and clearly. Explain why the situation is unfair and how it makes you feel. Set boundaries. If communication isn't possible or the manipulator is toxic, you may need to distance yourself. Maintain inner peace. Don't let the manipulator control your emotions. Practice stoic techniques like meditation to maintain inner peace regardless of the external situation. Talk to trusted friends, therapists, or counselors. They can help you validate your feelings and see things clearly. Number 2, time pressure. This is a manipulation tactic used to force the victim to make quick decisions, creating a false sense of urgency. You might have also heard it somewhere, because it's a famous manipulation technique all brands use. The manipulator claims that action must be taken immediately to avoid negative consequences, or that a unique opportunity is about to expire. This is also called fear of missing out, or FOMO. This method exploits the fear of loss and anxiety, reducing the time the victim has to think, research, or consult other opinions. This strategy is often used in sales, where the seller insists that an offer is for a limited time or that only a few items remain. However, it can also be found in personal and professional relationships, such as when someone demands an immediate response to a significant request or imposes an unrealistic deadline for an important decision. Under time pressure, the manipulated individual may end up making hasty decisions, often to their own detriment and to the benefit of the manipulator. The artificial urgency prevents the victim from evaluating all options, consulting third parties, or simply listening to their own intuition. To combat this tactic, it is essential to recognize when someone is trying to manipulate time to influence your decision. It is important to ask for time to think, not to succumb to the pressure to act immediately, and to remember that few decisions genuinely require instant response. Additionally, one should be aware that time pressure is a red flag for manipulation, and that often by waiting, additional information may emerge that will help make a more informed and balanced decision. There are 3 stoic ways to deal with the time pressure manipulation tactic. 1. Detach from the urgency. Stoics believe in separating things you can control from what you can't, others' actions or deadlines. Recognize that the pressure is artificial and doesn't reflect the true urgency of the situation. 2. Employ the dichotomy of control. Ask yourself, is this decision truly life or death? Most likely, it's not. By understanding what's within your control, rational thought, calm response, and what's not, the manipulator's pressure, you can choose to act with reason, not fear. 3. Practice delayed gratification. Stoics value delayed gratification over impulsive decisions. Don't be swayed by the limited time offer or the urgent request. Take a deep breath and remind yourself that a well-considered decision is always better than a rushed one made under pressure. Number 3. Projection. Projection is a manipulation tactic where the manipulator attributes their own flaws, feelings, or inappropriate intentions to the victim. This occurs when the manipulator is unable or unwilling to acknowledge their own shortcomings or negative behaviors, and instead projects them onto the other person, making them feel guilty or in doubt about their own actions or feelings. For example, a jealous partner may accuse the other of being unfaithful or flirting, when in reality, it is the accuser who is having these thoughts or behaviors. Projection allows the manipulator to divert attention from their own flaws and transfer responsibility to the victim, often making them feel defensive, confused, or guilty without cause. This can weaken the victim's self-esteem and increase their emotional dependence on the manipulator. As promised, here are some stoic strategies to counter projection. 1. Recognize the tactic. The first step is to identify projection for what it is. Detach yourself emotionally and analyze the accusations calmly. 2. Don't internalize. Don't accept the blame or let their words define you. Trust your own judgment and values. 3. Practice self-reflection. Reflect on your own actions and intentions, but don't let the manipulator's accusations cloud your self-perception. 4. Respond with reason. If necessary, calmly point out the manipulator's tactics and explain how their accusations are unfounded. 5. Maintain boundaries. Don't engage in pointless arguments or justifications. Set clear boundaries and refuse to be drawn into their drama. 6. Inner peace is key. Don't let their negativity affect your emotional well-being. Practice stoic techniques like meditation to maintain inner peace, regardless of the situation. Number 4. Triangulation. What is triangulation? Gossip or share secrets between you and the other person. Play you two against each other, creating competition or distrust. Use the third person to validate their own opinions and make you doubt yourself. This can isolate you and make you more reliant on the manipulator. This is a subtle but powerful manipulation tactic to create division, tension, or confusion. The manipulator uses this third person as a tool to exercise control, destabilize existing relationships, or divert attention from their own questionable actions. In triangulation, the manipulator may play one against the other, sharing distorted or confidential information between the parties or using the third person to validate their own opinions and feelings, discrediting the other party. This can lead the victims to doubt their own perceptions and feelings, isolating them and making them more dependent on the manipulator. For example, in a family context, a parent might speak ill of one child to another, creating an alliance with the second and leaving the first isolated and insecure. In the workplace, a boss might share negative information about one employee with another, generating rivalry and distrust between them. Countering triangulation requires recognizing the tactic, open and honest communication between the parties, being manipulated, and a strong sense of personal boundaries. It is crucial to question the validity of the information received, seek clarifications directly with the other parties involved, and refuse to participate in conversations or actions that foster division or distrust. Stoic strategies to counter triangulation. 1. Maintain emotional distance. Recognize the attempt to manipulate your emotions. Don't react impulsively. Take a breath and respond calmly. 2. Seek clarity, not validation. Don't get caught up in justifying yourself or seeking approval from the third person. Focus on getting the full picture directly from the other party involved. 3. Direct and honest communication. If appropriate, speak directly to the person the manipulator is using against you. Approach the conversation with reason and a willingness to understand, but don't engage in gossip or negativity. 4. Set boundaries. Don't participate in conversations that fuel the manipulator's game. Excuse yourself, or clearly state you won't discuss the topic if it involves negativity about a third party. 5. Focus on your virtue. Respond with reason, not anger. Don't stoop to the manipulator's level. Uphold your own integrity and act with virtue. 6. Detach from the outcome. Remember, you can't control the manipulator or the third party. Focus on your own actions and reactions. By combining these strategies with Stoic principles, you can navigate triangulation with clarity, detachment, and ultimately freedom from the manipulator's control. You choose your response, not the manipulator. Number 5. Emotional blackmail. Here, the manipulator exploits another person's emotions to get what they want. This usually involves creating a sense of obligation, fear, guilt, or shame in the target, leading them to act against their own interests or values to satisfy the manipulator's demands. At the core of emotional blackmail is the abuse of the emotional bond between the parties. The manipulator may suggest directly or indirectly that their well-being, happiness, or love depends on the victim's action, creating a situation where the victim feels responsible for the emotional state of the manipulator. Common examples of emotional blackmail include phrases like, "If you really love me, you would do this," or "I can't believe you would let me do this alone." These statements not only impose a false sense of duty, but also instill fear of loss or guilt for not meeting expectation. To deal with emotional blackmail, it is important to recognize when it is happening, establish and maintain clear boundaries, and communicate assertively. This involves expressing your own needs and feelings without allowing fear, guilt, or obligation to dictate your actions. Reinforcing self-esteem and seeking external support, whether from friends, family, or professionals, can also be crucial to withstand the pressure and maintain your own agency. Here are 3 Stoic ways. Break free from emotional blackmail. 1. Recognize the tactic. The first step is to identify the emotional manipulation for what it is. Stoicism emphasizes clear thinking. Analyze the situation rationally and detach yourself from the emotional strings the manipulator is pulling. 2. Separate emotions from reason. Stoics believe in acting with reason, not emotions. Don't get hooked into feeling guilty, obligated, or fearful. Ask yourself, is this request truly aligned with my own values and best interests? 3. Assert yourself with virtue. Communicate your boundaries clearly and calmly. Stoicism emphasizes courage, so don't be afraid to say no. Explain your position with reason and justice, but avoid anger or aggression. Number 6. Inconsistency and unpredictability. This is a manipulation tactic where the manipulator acts erratically and unpredictably, causing confusion and insecurity in the victim. This behavior can range from extremes, such as being loving and attentive one moment and cold or disdainful the next, for no apparent reason. This pattern of behavior keeps the victim in a constant state of disorientation and anxiety, as they cannot predict or understand the actions of the manipulator. This tactic is often used in abusive relationships, with the abuser alternating between kindness and cruelty to create an emotionally unstable environment. The victim, trying to understand the manipulator's behavior and yearning for approval or love, may find themselves trapped in a cycle of trying to please the manipulator, never achieving stability or satisfaction. To deal with inconsistency and unpredictability, it is important for the victim to recognize the manipulator's pattern of behavior and understand that it is not their responsibility to constantly correct or adapt to please the other. It is vital to establish clear boundaries and maintain emotional distance from the manipulator. Additionally, seeking support from friends, family, or professionals can provide the perspective and support needed to deal with this form of manipulation and rebuild self-esteem and independence. Here are 3 ways to counter inconsistency and unpredictability. 1. Maintain emotional distance. Stoicism emphasizes separating emotions from reason. Don't get swept up in the emotional roller coaster the manipulator creates. Observe their behavior calmly and objectively. 2. Detach from the outcome. You can't control the manipulator's actions, but you can control your own response. Focus on what you can control, your thoughts and actions. Don't waste energy trying to predict or please them. 3. Live according to virtue. Uphold your own values of reason, justice, and courage. Don't compromise your own integrity in response to the manipulator's erratic behavior. Time for me to go. I actually wrote 14 tactics in script, but the video will be too long, so I will make another part. Stay tuned. Peace. Until that, watch my some other videos. Click on left of your screen.